Ever thought about what it really takes to make an ordinary person holy? We're about to dive deep into one of the most ancient and detailed ceremonies ever written down, the incredibly precise 7-day ritual for consecrating a priest, coming to us straight from the book of Exodus.
So that's really the core question here, isn't it? How do you take a regular person and get them ready to stand in the presence of the divine? Well, this ancient text isn't just some dry list of rules. It's actually a step-by-step roadmap for solving that very problem. Okay, so let's set the scene. The challenge here is, well, it's huge. You've got Aaron and his sons. These are just regular guys from the camp, right? And the mission is to completely transform them, to turn them into people who can minister in a sacred space, to basically build a living bridge between humanity and God.
And right off the bat, in the very first verse, the text gives us the key word for the entire operation: to hallow them. It's a powerful word. It means to make holy, yes, but more than that, it means to completely set them apart from everyday life for this one sacred purpose.
So how in the world do you even begin a transformation like that? You might think it starts with some kind of mystical prayer or incantation. But nope, it starts with real, tangible, physical actions that are meant to symbolize a massive internal change.
The first two steps are about purification and, well, designation. Aaron and his sons are brought to the entrance of the tabernacle and literally washed with water, a pretty universal symbol for getting clean, right? Then, they're dressed in these very special sacred garments, which immediately sets them apart from everyone else.
And the level of detail for the high priest's wardrobe is just incredible. I mean, you've got the coat, the robe, the ephod, the breastplate. Every single piece is unique and loaded with meaning. These are not just clothes, they're vestments. They create a whole new identity, a figure who is visibly and completely set apart for this unique job.
So once he's all dressed in this amazing outfit, we hit a really pivotal moment. And get this, it happens before a single sacrifice has been offered. Holy anointing oil is poured over Aaron's head. This is the act that formally makes him the high priest.
Now that the priests are physically ready, the ceremony moves into its next big phase. And this involves not just one, but 3 totally separate animal sacrifices. Each one has a very specific job to do in this whole process.
Let's just break down the logic here. First up, you've got a bullock as a sin offering, which is all about atonement. Then the first ram is a burnt offering, which represents total devotion. And finally, you get this very special second ram, the ram of consecration, whose entire purpose is to make the priests themselves holy.
You know, I find the language here fascinating. The text describes the burnt offering as a sweet savor. It suggests the whole thing wasn't about trying to appease an angry God, but more about presenting a welcome and pleasing gift, a sign of dedication that was received with favor.
Okay, we are now arriving at the absolute heart of the entire ceremony. This is the most intense, the most symbolic moment of the whole ritual, and it all revolves around that second ram, the ram of consecration.
What happens next is just incredibly potent. After the ram is sacrificed, its blood is carefully applied to 3 specific places on the priests: the tip of their right ear, the thumb of their right hand, and the big toe of their right foot. The symbolism is just so powerful, isn't it? It's about consecrating what they hear, the work that they do, and the path that they walk. Can you imagine the psychological impact of that? It's not an abstract idea, it's a physical act meant to lock this transformation in their minds forever.
And the anointing isn't even done yet. Some of the blood from the altar is then mixed with that holy anointing oil and sprinkled all over the priests and their new clothes. This final act makes everything about them holy, the men themselves and the very office they now represent.
Now, this whole intense, dramatic ritual isn't just a performance. It's the foundation for a whole new way of life. So the question is, how does this one-time event set up a service that's supposed to last forever?
Well, after the sacrifices, the priests take part in a sacred meal. They eat the meat from that ram of consecration and some special holy bread. The text makes it crystal clear. This meal is part of making them holy. It's a kind of communion that's so sacred that no one else is allowed to eat it and nothing can be left over.
Okay, now think about the intensity of this entire elaborate process. The washing, the dressing, the anointing, all 3 sacrifices, and the special meal is not just done once. They are commanded to repeat the whole thing from start to finish, every single day for 7 days in a row. A full week is dedicated to nothing but this transformation. And this really shows you the difference between getting started and keeping things going. The 7-day consecration is the big, powerful launch event. But that just sets the stage for the daily grind, a perpetual duty of offering 2 lambs every single day to maintain that sacred space and that relationship. So, after all this painstaking detail, the garments, the oil, the blood, the 7 days of repetition, we really have to ask the biggest question of all: why? What is the ultimate point of this incredibly complex and intense ritual?
You know, the chapter could have just ended with the instructions for the daily offering. Job done. But it doesn't. After laying out every single step, the text takes a turn and reveals the profound reason behind all of it.
And there it is. That's the promise. The entire purpose of creating a holy priesthood, of cleansing the altar, of keeping up with daily offerings, it was all to create a space and a people ready for the divine presence to come and live among them.
So this ceremony was a meticulous, ancient blueprint for bridging that gap between the human and the divine. And that leaves us with one last big thought. If this was the way they did it back then, how do all the different cultures and traditions in our world attempt that very same connection today?